This government believes in empowering mayors. Mayors will decide whether introducing a levy is the right choice, as is common for local leaders in countries all around the world, and mayors will need to consider the appropriate balance between supporting local economic priorities, including tourism, and ensuring a levy is affordable and providing stability and certainty for business.
My Lords, the government's treatment of the hospitality sector over the last 2 years has been marked by neglect, indifference and deeply damaging policies. Now, this summer, many families would have been looking forward to enjoying their summer holidays, but the government has planned to introduce a tax on their holidays. This tax will disproportionately harm lower-income families in Britain and the smaller hospitality businesses that provide cheaper holidays. And that exposes the hollowness of the new Prime Minister's own stated mission to bring down the cost of living. Does the noble Lord the Minister agree that the new Prime Minister should change course, put small businesses and British families first, and abandon the family holiday tax?
The visitor levy was announced on the 25th November 2025, and a consultation on the design of the levy powers was launched in the budget. And the consultation is now closed, and a response will be published, and perhaps you won't be surprised to hear me say this, in due course. We expect that local leaders will be able to introduce the levy before the end of this Parliament. I'm afraid I don't accept the characterisation, the wider characterisation from the noble Lord. As he knows, we've done a great deal to support the hospitality industry, including pubs and live music venues, including in business rate support, and our Great British Summer Savings Scheme, which is now well advanced.
My Lords, as a former chair of Core Cities UK, which is the group of 10 largest cities outside of London, Core Cities campaigned long and hard for the power to introduce a discretionary visitor levy to fund the additional costs of tourism-related expenditure, maintaining historic sites, promoting marketing campaigns, the cost of major events, which in my time as leader of Newcastle City Council, the hospitality sector told me was the single biggest thing that brought additional business in through their doors, and ultimately reducing the burden on council taxpayers of the overall visitor economy. So can my noble friend the Minister indicate whether His Majesty's Government has plans to press ahead with this financial flexibility for areas in England that wish to introduce it?
As I've said, the discretion will be with local mayors, and perhaps I can quote, "I'm proud that nearly 2 million," and I pay tribute to the campaign that my noble friend and others have campaigned for this. But perhaps I can quote one regional mayor. "I'm proud that nearly 2 million people from all over the world choose to visit Greater Manchester every year. The money they spend contributes about £9 billion annually to our economy. I'm doing my job, supporting over 100,000 jobs, and the levy will allow us to invest in the infrastructure these visitors need." I do agree with the comment my right honourable friend made, that if mayors choose to introduce this levy, that will help to invest in the tourist economy.
When it comes to visitor levies, surely one size does not fit all, and applying them to small family-run operators in our struggling coastal towns will inflict further damage on already weak competitive positions. So I ask, where is the evidence that applying Manchesterism to places like Blackpool, Skegness, and indeed Burnham-on-Sea will not damage growth in these postcodes and drive visitor numbers down?
Well, that is precisely why we're leaving it to local mayors to decide. Of course we won't impose a levy from the centre. I've already said that the consultation has been completed, and we will announce the response in due course. But of course we're not going to impose the same thing everywhere.
My Lords, we support devolving more economic power to local areas, but any visitor tax must come alongside vital relief for a sector that's already struggling under the government's NIC hikes that happened not so very long ago. So will the government enact an emergency 5p cut on VAT, that's on hospitality, accommodation and entertainment until April 2027 to provide some ongoing relief? And will they also give us a cast iron guarantee that a tourist tax will not be an excuse to further cut already insufficient local government funding?
The government has taken a number of fair and necessary decisions on tax, welfare and spending to fix the public finances. And of course, I should, in honour of Lord Livermore, mention the £22 billion black hole. I'm sorry, I'm on spirited form today. One of those decisions was to make change. This is a very serious matter. One of those decisions was to make changes to employer national insurance contributions, and the government has protected, as the noble lady knows, the smallest businesses from these changes by more than doubling the employment allowance, which allows eligible employers to reduce their employer NIC bills by up to £10,500 per year. And as the noble lady knows, our commitment to supporting greater fiscal devolution to local authorities has been redoubled.
I noticed very carefully the Minister's well-crafted job application, which I hope the Prime Minister notices as well, and that he's successful, and he's done it with a smile on his face, with the right attitude, so good luck. I noticed in his answer 3 times he referred to mayors. Can he confirm that the only places in the country then that will face this family holiday tax will be those where there's a directly elected mayor and nowhere else?
I thank the Lord for his kind remarks. I don't normally apply for jobs, but there we are. On the central point about mayors, it is our intention to announce the results of the consultation, and as he knows, those plans, there's a lot of details to be worked out, but those plans relate to places where there are.
I warmly welcome this devolution of power, and in declaring my interest as chair of the Association of Leading Visitor Attractions, I ask my noble friend if he shares my concern about the impact of disinformation, especially disinformation coming from the United States of America, on reduced visitor figures to London this year. Would he also join me in welcoming the campaign of my newly ennobled friend, the Mayor of London, to showcase our wonderful city and tackle this online disinformation?
Yes, I do share my noble friend's concern about misinformation and disinformation, not just in this regard, but in many other regards too. And I'm particularly concerned, as noble lords know, with whom I've been discussing the elections bill, about foreign interference in various matters in our lives here, including elections. On the question of London, of course London is a wonderful city. It's a safe city, and the government has an ambitious target, 50 million inbound visits a year by 2030, and I pay tribute to the work my noble friend is doing to promote those activities. London is a wonderful place, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
My lords, a visitor levy is a poor prospect, damaging the hospitality sector and its employees. No doubt a contributor to today's ONS unemployment figures of 14.8% for the 18 to 24-year-olds. The Prime Minister has made an array of promises: a cut in VAT on electricity, lifting the personal tax allowance, ending rough sleeping, a huge council house programme, and relocation packages to get civil servants to move north. No cheering. Can the Minister explain how all these new commitments will be paid for, and whether Parliament will be given the chance to probe the many questions that arise in the coming days and weeks?
Shall answer. I thank the noble lady for setting out the government's plans so clearly and enjoying so much support from behind me. But I would say that this visitor levy is really important. It exists in every G7 country. I'm sorry, I don't want to be completely flippant about this. This is really important. And it is, but of course we expect local authorities, mayors, to take proper decisions about how to fund these things and to grow their economies.
My Lords, from the polls that have been done, the use of the visitor levy for the support of museums, theatres and other tourist attractions would be popular, not least because most visitors to our cities, whether domestic or international, come for the arts and culture. I hear what the Minister says about decision-making, but does he appreciate the helpful circularity that support for our culture in this way would itself further stimulate hospitality, including the hotel and restaurant trades?
I do absolutely agree with that, and I should declare my own interest as the former chair of English Heritage, so I have first-hand experience of these matters. The costs of visitor attractions are I think, what economists call externalities, and this visitor levy will help to redress that.